All right, I'm going to try to redo the story of my dad's death. I wrote down notes. This is still traumatic for me, and I don't get it right, and obviously the sound didn't work in the last video. So I'm going to try to keep this shorter and just do the points right here. And if you have any questions about anything, just leave me a question. I'll answer. Okay, so basically, my dad was 96 years old. He was living at a retirement home, independent living with my mother. So she called me one day, and I just had a colonoscopy, and the medicine was still making me kind of sick. And she said my dad couldn't walk, and he was having trouble talking. And so immediately I was afraid he was having a stroke. So my oldest daughter took me over there, and we called 911. Now, when the ambulance got there, he was alert. He was talking. They said, "Who's the president?" He said, "Joe Biden. I know my presidents." And he's had short-term memory dementia pretty much since COVID, not seeing people. He kind of went downhill with that, but he could still tell you everything about the rest of his life. But anyway, he was talking in the ER to my daughter and I. He was shaking really bad. His pulse rate was all over the place. They said they were going to put him in a room. We left him with a sitter about midnight, a sitter at the hospital in the room with him. We returned in the morning. He looked pitiful. He had mittens on because of pulling out the IV the night before, and he was shaking. He was still in some pain. I had trouble getting anyone to tell me what was going on. I chased down everyone that I talked to just about. The doctor did come in, but I'll get there. I had to ask for anxiety meds because he was shaking so bad. So I was basically begging them. And I was begging them for IV fluids because I was so worried about him not having any water. And no one told me the reason that he couldn't have IV fluids is because he was an AFib. And my sister, who's not a doctor, just happened to tell me on the phone that she bet that's what was going on. But to calm him down just from all the shaking, bless him, he was still he still had his sweet spirit. But I was giving him water out of a cup, and he could still drink out of a cup at this point. He was still alert. My sister got to tell him goodbye on the phone, and he listened, and I knew he definitely knew he was talking to her. He couldn't speak. He did try to speak a lot. The doctor came in and said it was AFib. And I said, well, he's breaking my heart. I said, is there anything we can do? Can I have a hospice consultation? Because he had a living will, and I was just going by that. And, the doctor kind of looked at me and said, well, I'm here to treat him. Of course, it was a figure of speech. I was not really, my heart was not physically breaking. It was emotionally breaking. But anyway, that's what he said, and he wanted to try to treat him. And I said, okay. He said, we can talk about hospice later if we have to. He said palliative care. I did not know those are not the same thing. Those are not the same thing. If you remember that. So, let's see. His arms and his legs were still flailing around. They did give him some Ativan. It didn't really help. Nobody was really paying attention to me at the hospital. I mean, the first day was horrible. He was trying to talk, and I was afraid he was thirsty, and I kept asking them about the IV, and nobody told me why. They just kept putting me off still. So the next day I walked in, and I still didn't know what was going on. A nurse handed me a booklet on congestive heart failure and didn't say a word. And I said, "Is he in this?" And she said, "Yes." And that's how I found out. She handed me a book. Okay. I asked for hospice again. The doctor came in and said I was probably making the right choice by asking for hospice, so he would make a consultation with palliative care. I didn't know they weren't the same. And sent the palliative care nurse in. Now, this was over like 3 days. I obviously don't have time to tell it all, but I still didn't know the difference. The nurse said she would give him some morphine and make him comfortable, and that's really what I wanted. And they came in and took him off all his monitors, and it was just like the hall emptied. The people by his door left. The hall was empty. When I say that, I'm not kidding. Like, I would have to go around to look for somebody. Every time the morphine ran out, I would have to go and get the nurse. They wanted to take his heart monitor off. I did not want them to. Finally, the caseworker, I got to make this shorter, but finally the caseworker came in and she said she was looking for a place to put him, like a nursing home or something, so he could be on palliative care there. And I said, I really want a live hospice. And that's when she said, "Oh, you want to go that route?" I said, "Yes." And then she went outside and the hospice lady was just out there. She came in and she goes, "Look, tell me yes, and I'm going to go secure our last bed over there." And I said, "Definitely yes. I want him to be comfortable." And that was a gift from God. Absolutely, the timing of all of that was a gift from God. And hospice was a gift from God. And he did die a week later. But I know he was peaceful. He was peaceful while he was at hospice. And the minute he showed any kind of grimace on his face, they said, "Call us. We'll give him some more medicine." And they did. And they were angels. And they explained everything that had happened to me and what was going on also in the present. And they also said that they would probably file a complaint or complain to whoever was head of that hospice because we weren't treated right. And I'm going to file a complaint against Ascension St. Thomas Rutherford because I don't want anybody else to go through this. And I want them to not do this kind of thing. Don't hand somebody a book before you tell them what's going on. We're people. And a lot of the nurses there were very good. And I don't have anything against anybody that works there. I just think that this particular area of care needs help with the elderly. Maybe not just the elderly, maybe anybody. But anyway, I'm recording all this just to get it out there, and so I won't forget it. And I'll be calling tomorrow just to file a complaint, just so it won't happen to someone else. Know the difference between palliative care and hospice care. It's not the same thing. Palliative care is not hospice. It's similar, but it's not. Okay, thanks for listening if you actually listened for this long. Rest in peace, Daddy. I love you and miss you.